Eyes are gently closed. Take a moment to center yourself. Bring a gentle smile on the face. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Let us now chant Omkara. Inhale. 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 Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Slowly and gently, you may open your eyes. You may repeat after me. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram. We always remember and pay our respects to Adi Shankaracharya, who sort of revived the entire teaching tradition of Advaita Vedanta through his commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and Brahma Sutra, and gave us a way to inquire into the self through his very solid commentaries on these three most important texts in Hindu Sanatana Dharma. Yeah. Let us continue our discussion on the topic of love, discovering love, and bhakti. So I discussed many concepts related to love, bhakti. One important thread to remember is that bhakti is directing our love towards infinite, where our love is all the time directed towards finite entities in the Jagat, in the worldly realm. On a spiritual path, bhakti is redirecting that love towards infinite. One may ask a question, what is the need to do so? Why can't I just stay with directing my love towards finite things? If we look at our own life experiences, whenever our love is just limited towards finite things, we are all the time disappointed, all the time frustrated. Why? Because the nature of finite is not permanent. It is constantly changing. It is never as soon as you go to grab it or have it under your possession for some time, just melts away right in front of your sight. So one is hurt, one is frustrated, one is disturbed by totally directing all the love available towards finite things in the world. That's the reason that we need to seek infinite, we need to direct our love towards infinite. In fact, you see, in all your relationships, in any of your relationships, wherever you are hurt, our love was directed towards something finite, and we expected it to be constant, unchanging. So that's sort of where did we get this assumption that wherever we devote our love, it must be constant, it must be unchanging? Look at every human relationship. A person gets hurt because to whomsoever this love is dedicated to, once that person changes or not meeting your expectations, then there is hurt in the heart. Swamiji, no, I do not agree. Then say, just wait for some more time. My kids are different. Wait for some more time. So it's not that I'm painting the world with some kind of a pessimistic philosophy. It's not that. In fact, Vedanta is giving objective insight of the world. Objective insight of the world. We resist objectivity. We resist truth. We want everything to be sugar-coated. If there is no sugary tasting substance in the toothpaste, we wouldn't brush tonight. So we want everything to be sugar-coated, and from toothpaste to truth also. So Vedanta just gives objectivity into our life. As I said earlier, two notable Maharshis, Shandilya and Narada, have given sutras, very brief statements. Sutras means these aphorisms which are very brief in nature, which are universal in nature, which convey a great spiritual insight in just a very short form. That is the sutra literature. In the literature concerning Hindu Sanatana Dharma, if you see, at some point in time, this sutra literature, this sutra style of literature evolved. So the Rig Veda was in the poetic form. The entire Rig mantras are poems. Then in Yajurveda, you find prose. It was developed further. I mean, this style came in Yajurveda, where the mantras are in the prose form. And later in Samaveda, the Rig poems, the Rigvedic mantras, were given a tune and people sang it. And later many kind of Anushtup shlokas, everything developed in Mahabharata, Ramayana, etc. ityadi. Then later at some point in the history, we have this beautiful short texts called sutras, where in very short format, eternal truths are conveyed. But sometimes the problem with the sutras is that they're so brief, there's a lot of room for misinterpretation or understanding it differently. Probably Brahma Sutras have the highest number of commentaries on them, because every acharya is trying to understand it with one particular perspective, with one particular emphasis, one particular point of view. So Narada Bhakti Sutra is one such sutra about bhakti given by Narada Maharshi, and another one is Shandilya Bhakti Sutra. Says Shandilya begins his text with saying, Athato Bhakti Jignasa. You all are familiar with Brahma Sutra, some of you at least, that Athato Brahma Jignasa. The Shandilya Bhakti Sutra start with Athato Bhakti Jignasa. Now, hereafter, let us inquire upon Bhakti. Let us try to know what is Bhakti. So Hindu Sanatana Dharma is always in inquiry mode. It's not a belief, it's an inquiry. First you inquire, and if something is satisfactory to you, then you accept. If not, don't, it's okay, doesn't matter. You may always take another viewpoint. This is not some authority-based, this is not some belief-based system, but this is very pragmatic, inquiry-based, truth-based system. So that way, Shandilya Maharshi is telling us, let us start inquiring about Bhakti. Why? Because Bhakti is a very important sadhana, as we discussed earlier. The path of heart. The path of heart. It's very important in spiritual life to be grounded at the level of heart as well. Intellect, heart. Very important to be grounded here. Why? Because, see, the heart, whenever you point out, it's very, very intimate. It's you. The essence resides here. Whenever you feel pain, what do you say? Oh my God, my heart aches. Whenever you are extremely joyful, my heart is content. So you never say, oh my God, I'm so satisfied today. You never say that. You always say this. You always say this. So heart is the center for love, the center for logic, center for inquiry. All of it is in the mind, in the intellect. But heart is something very, very more intimate. You never say, oh my God, I love my daughter. No. I love my son. I love my daughter. So everything is very, very connected here. So very important to have this place clean, this place decluttered, this place something in which you can fill all the great substances available in the world. And what I mean by substances is great qualities available for us to absorb. So furthermore, Shandilya Bhakti Sutra says, Sa para anuraktihi ishvare. So what is that bhakti? That bhakti is devotion towards, supreme devotion towards God. Supreme devotion towards a higher power. All our effort in the bhakti sadhana is to develop a very intimate relationship with God, the higher power. To establish a relationship with this higher power. In fact, the rishis have so well thought in Sanatana Dharma, initially, in the initial phase in our spiritual evolution, in our spiritual path, we have this very grand and rich tradition of worship, puja, japa, etc. Aradhana of the temple, a murti in a temple context, or in our own puja rooms, in our own homes. This is all very well thought. This is like a sort of initial development, initial empowerment for this person who is on a spiritual track in order to evolve more and more. What we say God is infinite. Now, how do I start a relationship with infinite? An untrained mind is unable to conceive that. It becomes extremely difficult to conceive something very abstract, nameless, formless, colorless, locationless, timeless entity. Even though that is the truth. That is how the Vedas define Brahman, the reality. But yet, when we start our spiritual journey, it may be extremely difficult to appreciate this nameless, formless entity, which is the truth of the universe, Brahman. Thus, this nirguna means without any attributes. Name is an attribute, form is an attribute, location is an attribute. So this higher power, this reality of the universe is nirguna indeed, but now in order to understand it, I need to spiritually evolve. My mind has to be expansive. My heart has to be clear. So much is going on in life. Thus, they gave a system of worship for us to grow and evolve. But alas, what has happened is, so many people have stayed at this level itself, refusing to evolve any further. It is like, elementary school is very much fun. I would like to just stay there. Can you discount the role of elementary school when you are doing PhD? You cannot. That's where you learn the numbers. That's where you develop the ability to think. That's where you develop the ability to logic. That's where you develop the ability to ask questions. But then, just because now you are doing the PhD, you cannot say, oh, that's all for fools, that's all lower level, that's all silly. You can never say that. You can never say that. Why? Because these are the foundations of our Sanatana Dharma. And then this is a time-tested way in which sages, spiritual seekers have evolved to be jnanis, to appreciate this Nirguna Parabrahma. In fact, I observe this in a lot of modern people, even in our Hindu youngsters. In fact, I was having this discussion with one of the youngsters while I was at Harvard. We were all the time researching on religion, beliefs, the sacred texts, the places of worship, etc. But then, lot of condemnation, sort of a condemnation in subtle and so many times in open forms are there for certain religious beliefs. So I was asking someone, hey, have you seen Brihadishwara temple in Tamil Nadu? They said, I have not been there, but then I have observed the architecture of it in some photo archive, in some video archive. It's a magnificent architecture. It's a marvel. It's just amazing. Then I asked, have you seen the Kailasa temple, where just a mountain is carved to make it into a temple, and cave in such depths? It's just amazing. So I said, yeah, it's just amazing. Even in 2024, we cannot conceive to build something like that today. Do you love and like these temples or these architectures, ancient architecture? Yes, of course. I have great appreciation for all of this. Then I asked, hey, but why do you have sort of a hostility towards the beliefs which made these structures possible? there is a belief in place, there's a faith in place, because of which all these grand structures came, right? So why do you like the physical structures, but then sort of have an animosity towards the faith that enabled these grand structures? Something to think about, something to think about. So when we closely observe society, social life, humankind, everybody brings meaning into their lives in various different ways. We cannot say this alone is valid, that alone is valid. Somebody brings meaning to their life through bhajans. Another person brings meaning to their life through Beyonce and Taylor Swift. It's okay, both are valid. Bring some meaning into your life, finally. That is what is the focus on. So, a preliminary scheme of things is put in place where that Nirguna Nirakara Brahma is very difficult to appreciate at a young age, probably when you are in your teens, as you're growing up, even as young adults sometimes. So, in order to appreciate this vision, the same vision is given a different color of Saguna Sakara Brahma. That is, the same infinite power is given a name and a form. So when you see a form of Vishnu in the temple, so it's a very well thought methodology. It's a very well thought system for thousands of years. Rishis in their meditations, whatever forms was revealed to them, they put it, they gave expressions to all these grand concepts that we find in Vedas. So that's how Saguna Sakara Aradhana was put in place in order to establish a personal relationship on part of a devotee with this higher power, So Bhakti, the journey of Bhakti begins with Saguna Sakara Brahma and culminates in Nirguna Nirakara Brahma. Shri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam, and what is that 4 type of people who worship me? Krishna says 4 kind of people worship me. Artho jignyasurartharthi jnani cha bharatarshapha. So Krishna says 4 kind of people are trying to establish a relationship with me through bhakti, through the path of devotion. What are those 4 kinds of people? So first category of people is artha. If you observe life, people remember God, a set of people, or probably a large chunk of humanity, remember God or higher power only when they are in distress. Artha means one who is in distress. In Kannada, there is a proverb, or just like a saying, Sankata Bandaga Venkata Ramana. That means only when you have some sankat, then you remember Venkat. Otherwise, I do not care to bring in God into my life. I want God only when I am distressed. But fine, some coping up mechanism, isn't it so? I would say much better than somebody who's in distress going for a smoke or a alcohol or drugs. Much better to have Venkataramana in our lives, isn't it so? Why modernity has such hostility towards belief? In fact, it's the belief which runs the world. A set of people, whenever they are in distress, I'm not at all feeling well. I'm so stressed today. My mind is not at all well. Well, let me go for a long drive. Okay? Meaning what? There is sankata, there is distress. And how do you handle that distress? By going for a long drive. Now, a devotee is in distress. That devotee now remembers God. That devotee, in order to come out of distress, wants to do a puja or offer something, some flowers in front of the altar in order to handle one's emotions, one's distress. Now, example A is of a worldly person who went for a long drive in order to feel comfortable with emotions. Now, he has to burn some fossil fuels, add carbon footprint, put carbon monoxide and some more carbon into the system, disturbs the ecology, creates some noise pollution, adds an extra car onto the road, already existing traffic, in order to feel comfortable. Here is a devotee who takes out the harmonium or whatever and just chants some names of the Lord or prays, oh my God, oh God, I'm in distress, help me, take me out of this distress. Such eco-friendly practice, isn't it so? But then we seem to think the example B is of some lower order, and example A of going for a long drive to ease one's emotions is a better way. No, it isn't. This is one way, this is another way. Which is superior, which is inferior? No, we are not here to categorize what is superior, what is inferior. Suit yourself. Suit what works for you. In fact, I'll tell you one thing. Both are rituals. One is a worldly ritual. Whenever I'm feeling down, I have to go for a drive. Is a worldly ritual. Whenever I'm feeling down, I have to do a puja or visit a temple. This is a religious ritual. Both in essence are rituals. Both in essence are rituals. So very difficult to grow out of rituals because you might have eliminated religious rituals from your life in the name of modernity, but you do have a lot of worldly rituals as part of your system in order to feel comfortable, in order to feel at ease. Somebody does Pada Puja of the Guru in order to ease one's emotions and distress. Somebody goes for pedicure and manicure for themselves and nails in order to feel comfortable. You see, here ritual of washing Guru's feet is a ritual. Here is a ritual of washing your own feet. Somehow we think ritual of washing Guru's feet is inferior compared to paying and getting your own foot washed at a parlor. Hey, why this taratamya? Why this confusion? Both are rituals. Accept it, both are rituals. You do a certain ritual and the other whole chunk does another type of rituals. So next time if you are doing Pada Puja and your daughter or son asks, what is it? It's a pedicure for the Guru. Usually when you get a pedicure, you pay the money. When you do offer Pada Puja for the Guru, you do the pedicure and offer Dakshina to Guru. Just little change. Traditions. In essence, rituals. In essence, rituals. So if you want to really grow out of rituals, you have to very closely examine your life and all the patterns that we do, and you will see a ritual element in all of it. A ritual element in all of it. Somebody recently told me, oh, Swamiji, I'm not interested in all these pilgrimages. Who wants to go from place to place? God is everywhere, isn't it so? Then I said, hey, you said you're going to South Africa in January. God is everywhere. Why go to South Africa then? So, this is the limitation of the logic It's just not, you have not thought it through. You have not thought it through. When we observe life, there's always a ritual element whenever we want to come out of this afflictions of the heart. So a whole set of devotees are there who pray to God only when they are in distress. One category, probably we all started like that. If you look at your own life, if I look at my own life, but then we started in elementary school, we are not there to stay forever. You move on, and Krishna says there is another set of devotees who show devotion, love to the God only when they are in need of something. Artharthi. Artha means material things. So you go to God only when you want some material success or material possession or something like that. Only when there is an end in view, you develop a relationship with God only when you need something, you want some material thing. So the other category of devotees is Artharthi. Again, this phenomenon you see, this kind of, when you very closely observe what happens here is very transactional, If your relationship with God is only at the level of Artharthi Bhakti, it is kind of transaction. Oh God, I will give you a coconut, give me a job promotion. Oh God, I'll offer you 108 flowers and give me $1 million. See, if it's transaction, at least there must be some balance in values, right? You must say, I will offer $100,000 and then you, oh God, you give me $1 million. At least something, that transaction should match. You don't work out such a deal when you're buying a house or a car or anything. You don't say, you go to the dealership and say, I offer you $10, give me this new model. Never say, they say, shut up and get out. But with God, you take a coconut and say, oh God, I offer you this coconut, give me job promotion. Hare, well, how does it work? There is a limitation in Arthartha Bhakti. It's okay. We all have aspirations in heart. Human being starts with a lot of aspirations in heart, lot of desires in one's heart for material possessions, but then one must grow and understand in life that material possessions do not solve the fundamental problem of life. They do not solve the fundamental problem in life. Recently I saw the news item, son of a billionaire in Malaysia, I think his name is Siripano, he gave up his inheritance. I think his father is worth about $5.1 billion. So son walked out of the home to be a Buddhist monk. So he traveled to Thailand in order to meet with his mother's side of the family or so. And then he was drawn into Buddhist practice and Buddhism, and then he became a Buddhist monk, and he's been a monk since a long time. Just some news media recently discovered that this monk is the son of this Malaysian telecom or some other tycoon billionaire. Thus it became, you can search online yesterday's or 2 days old news. So many people have recognized that material things do not give ultimate fulfillment in life. Are they required for life? Of course they are required. Of course, I cannot sit under the tree and discuss this. We need this material setup in order to even convey the same message what I am conveying in a material setup. But then what the text is stressing, or the topic under discussion, is that it is not the end in view. It should not be life's end. there are greater things in life to seek. It's not all about material things. So Arthartha Bhakti is just relating to God only for material things. In fact, if you really observe this phenomenon, it operates so much normally in our society that we have sort of acceptance towards it. It's like a youngster coming to his father or mother, okay, what do you have in order to give me? And father says, I have nothing. Oh, fine, I don't want anything to do with you. Just walks out. And then daughter comes and says, okay, mom, what do you have to give me today? Oh, I have nothing to give you. Oh, fine, I have nothing to do with you. Just walks away. So it's like saying, I have nothing to do with you, God, if you do not have something to give me. Very, very materialistic view, very, very worldly view. Fine, for some reasons we have prayed. If we might still pray, that's okay. But the discussion here is not to condemn somebody or condemn the practice, but to evolve, to grow. Because, as I said, we are trying to discover love, discover divine love, discover bhakti, which is higher, which is of an higher order. This devotion to God, which is of a higher in nature. So that's where our efforts is. So we got to evolve from this stage also. Why? Because how do I evolve? I may still want to keep praying for God for this and that. Should I stop it? Examine it. I'm not suggesting you to stop or anything. Examine it. Examine it. Why can't I develop a relationship with God irrespective of my wants? Just like you have a relationship with your mom or dad and you're not expecting anything out of it. If it is possible in a human relationship, why can't I extend the same attitude, same logic to my relationship with God? To my relationship with God. That is the bhakti of higher nature. That is the bhakti of Meera towards Sri Krishna. That is the bhakti of Shabari to Lord Rama. That is the bhakti. Finally, that kind of bhakti evolved out of Dhruva. Those who know the story of Dhruva, this young boy, this child, was neglected by his father. He never gave him validation, acceptance. The father never gave the son. So Dhruva was very distressed. Dhruva was very hurt, and he went to forest in order to do penance to Lord Vishnu, so that Dhruva gets all exalted powers. So then he kept on meditating and meditating. He kept on praying and praying. Finally, Dhruva realized whatever I may ask for, it is just temporary. It will be there with me for some time and it will go out. I cannot hold on to any exalted power forever. You are seeing the elections. Nobody can hold on to any power forever. Thus then Dhruva got this realization and asks Lord Vishnu, all I want is you. I do not want anything else. So even though that effort in bhakti started for the sake of artha, somehow with some divine intervention or by inquiry, by wisdom, Dhruva's effort turned into seeking God itself and nothing else. So this is the Artharthi Bhakti, a devotion where there is an end in view. It's conditional love. God, I love you. Conditions apply in small letters. It's like, in India all the time they'll be throwing mutual funds ads on the television. Then they very quickly say, mutual funds are subjected to market risk. Please read the leaflet before you invest. Conditions apply. Everything conditions apply. Anything in world, if you look around, everything is available to you, but then conditions apply. Conditions apply. Get a new iPhone 16 Pro Max with just $16 per month, and conditions apply. They take $2,000 out of you, ultimately. So, why have this kind of a transactional relationship with even God? That I cannot even have love towards God in an unconditional way. That my love towards God is also conditional. God, I love you, or I have you have my attention, O Lord, if you give me something. You have my coconut and fruits, O Lord, if you give me something. You have my incense sticks, O God, if you give me something. So it becomes highly materialistic, very conditional, like a mutual fund or something like that. So we have to be very aware in our bhakti whenever we are looking at ourselves in relation to higher power, that is my devotion conditional or unconditional? If my devotion is conditional, then it's in apara bhakti stage. It's apara bhakti. If my devotion to God, to higher power, is unconditional, then it is para bhakti. It is para bhakti. So, Krishna discusses another category of devotees who are interested in God, and that category is Jignasu Bhakta. A Jignasu Bhakta. Who is a Jignasu? A Jignasu means one who is interested to know. Jignasu means one who is interested to know. This Jignasu is also interested in God. Why? Because he has a genuine interest to know God. Already we are evolving in our bhakti. Somebody might have started this whole bhakti marga, path of devotion, as an artha bhakta or artharthi bhakti, has very soon now moved on to be a Jignasu Bhakta. We all must transform ourselves into Jignasu Bhakta. Meaning what? I am interested in God for what purpose? Just for the sake of knowing God, knowing reality, knowing higher power. Two people go on a date and they're striking a conversation. Tell me more, tell me more. Oh, I'm interested to know that. So what is the situation there? A person is genuinely interested to know the another person. Genuinely interested to know the other person. Putting a lot of interest, taking time, taking effort, spending resources, giving time. For what purpose? Just to know the other person. If it can happen in dating, why can't it happen in devotion? Can we? We must. We must evolve ourselves to give our time, attention, resources towards God. For what purpose? In genuinely knowing Bhagavan. In genuinely building a relationship with Bhagavan. In genuinely understanding the nature of Bhagavan. So all the Vedanta students are essentially Jignasu Bhakta. Jignasu Bhakta. If you still find hues of Artha Bhakti and Artharthi Bhakti in you, do not condemn yourself. Become aware in which areas it's still pending. Work on it, evolve. Work on it, evolve. Self-condemnation will never evolve spiritual results. Comparison never yields spiritual results. So what we need to do is gently be aware of our own psyche. Adhyatma Vidya demands honesty on your part. You got to be very honest with yourself. You got to be very honest with yourself. You need not reveal it to any others, but then you know where you stand. You know where you stand. What is there in the mind, what is there in your heart, you truly know. So we must be very introspective, inward in nature to know, to see where I stand. To see where I stand. So that is a Jignasu Bhakti, that I'm truly interested in God. For what purpose? For what sake? Just to know God. Just to know God. Just to know God. So that's the effect. An effect can be seen in these genuine bhaktas through their devotion. Through their devotion. And you see it in Mirabai's poems. What is the effect of such kind of bhakti in Mira? Saint Mirabai. I have given you all handouts. She says, love has stained my body. Love has stained my body to the color of the one who holds up mountain. When I dressed in the world's 5 fabrics, I only played hide and seek. Mira says, love has stained my body. So much beautiful picturization here. And she says, the stain is of the color of the one who holds up the mountain. Of Lord Krishna, symbolically represented as Neela Varna, meaning the color of the sky. See, the poetic expression is so beautiful. How do you represent the infinite sky in a finite form? To give the color of the sky for the body. So that's why certain people get the category of Kavi, poet. So the Rigvedic seers, the rishis of Rigveda are called as Kavi, because the entire Rigvedic hymns are extremely poetic, beautiful in nature. So Jignasu Bhakti does this. Jignasu Bhakti does this for our heart, that you seek God, you become what? Godly. Godly attributes come to you of love, purity, sanctity, non-judgmental. All of these attitude, values get stained in your heart. And all the past stains of hurt, guilt, anger, disappointment. Oh, Swamiji, only this happens to me always, all the time. No, it happens to everyone. It happens to everyone. No life is exempt from feeling pain. No life is exempted from hurt. It's just that some people might have shared with you and you don't know what's happening in one's own heart. So before coming here, in a hospital, some new scan machines, like they said some Tesla, I don't know how many numbers were big. And they said this is extremely modern machines we have got, and Swamiji has to inaugurate the scan machines. I said, okay, why not? Then they were explaining, the doctors there, that okay, this can give the imagery of this. You don't need a dye in order to get this imaging. This has some other technology, this, that, and all that. So while the doctor was explaining all that, I was thinking, probably very soon, or it may already be there in prototypes, that you go under a scan machine and whatever is there in your head may come as a report, Right now that technology is not yet there, just wait. And then you go put the person under the scan machine and report comes what all is there in the head. Idli, dosa, what should I cook for tomorrow? What should I wear for the next party? This, that, all this rubbish things just stay just stay in our minds. So thank God we cannot read each other's minds. Otherwise, my God, no, there would be no possibility for any relationship. So, this kind of a jignasu bhakti clears out our mind and heart. And then we get stained with all the divine qualities. The seeker of the divine becomes divine himself or herself. All the divine qualities come to one's heart. So from the level of conditional love, we got to move towards unconditional love. In our Shastric language, that is para bhakti. That is jignasu bhakti. As Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, that you seek God for the sake of God. So what is that God? Is that higher power. That higher power from which the entire manifest universe has come forth. So why do you seek to know? Just because I'm interested. So isn't it such a lovely universe? The sun, the stars, moon, water, food, flowers, vegetables, all of it. Isn't it such a lovely world? Shouldn't I put more effort in order to know the Jagat and the power from which it has come? The power which has created it all. The power which sustains such a beautiful Jagat. That's such a beautiful Jagat. So I put my effort in order to know the God for the sake of God itself. That is the jignasu bhakti. Finally, this path culminates into jnanam. Thus one becomes a jnani. So this seeking culminates in knowledge. Thus one who has the knowledge of God becomes a jnani. Yaf pashyati sapashyati. One who sees this truth has had a union with that truth, has had a communion with this higher power, and such is a jnani. That person is a jnani. And Krishna, very poetically, in a poetic way, in Bhagavad Gita says, the person whom I love the most is a jnani. You shouldn't interpret too much there, just take it for the poetic value there. And there is a spiritual, philosophical value also there. Take it as, you see, one is you become truly interested in somebody when that other person is truly interested in you for no reason, isn't it so? That's how friendships blossom. That's how love blossoms. That's how relationships happen. If somebody is wanting to be with you for the sake of getting some goodies out of you, then it's just a superficial acquaintance or relationship. That's it. It's a LinkedIn type. So it's not that. This is Instagram type. So Bhagavan also, Krishna, is in a poetic way saying, I am truly interested in the one who is truly interested in me. That's all. That jnani is what is most lovable to me. In fact, later on Bhagavad Gita unfolds that jnani is non-separate from me. Non-separate from me. A wave wants to know the ocean. A wave takes a deep dive into the ocean to know the ocean. It knows the ocean, and now it's no longer a wave. It's no longer a wave. So once you dive deep into spirituality, dive deep into God, what you discover is God itself. You become God itself. How do you become? So it seems like an utopian concept. Nothing. Your individuality drops, that's all. The individuality I hold on to, the ahankara, I am this person, I am this wave. What should a wave do in order to become the ocean? Should it do anything? The wave has to give up the notion that it is a wave. So, in Bhakti, this Bhakti Marga, so you dive so deep into the knowledge of God that you become God itself. Tattvamasi. How? You will get some superpower? No, nothing. You lose your individuality. Thus, when there is no identification with the finite, you are infinite by nature. You're infinite by nature. Ramana Maharshi beautifully in his Upadesha Saram, he gives this method in order to start this exercise in bhakti, in devotion, in order to be one with God, in order to be one with that higher power. He says, Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam. You can repeat after me. Jagata Ishadhi. Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Bhrata Deva Pujanam. Ramana Maharshi, a great jnani of our times, gives a very beautiful method in order to start our jignasu bhakti, and also thus culminating it with becoming a jnani. So one of the upaya that Ramana Maharshi gives is, may you worship this God constantly. May you constantly worship God. So what is that God? How is that God manifesting in my daily life, in my day-to-day life? He says, as Ashtamurti. As Ashtamurti. Ramana Maharshi says that infinite is manifesting in my day-to-day life as Ashtamurti. Ashta means 8. Murti means forms. This infinite is constantly available to me in 8 forms. So what is that 8? So the 8 is 5 plus 2 plus 1. That's the breakup of that number 8 there. So the number 5 stands for Panchabhutas. Agni, Apaha, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. So 5 elements. Space. Why am I getting confused translating it? You help me? Space, air, fire, water, earth. So as even I open my eyes, I have the darshan of God all the time, in the form of these 5 elements. Whatever you touch is the manifestation of this God. Whatever I breathe is manifestation of this God. Whatever I see is manifestation of this God. So Panchabhutas cover the entire universe. And Maharshi adds another 2 elements to it. The 5 plus 2, the 2 stands for sun and the moon. Sun and the moon. Because they are something exalted in the visible sky. Something exalted that I can appreciate through my naked eyes. So sun and the moon. So what else? So Ramana Maharshi says, may you worship the 5 elements, the sun and the moon. And what else? What is the last one? Is a human being. Including yourself too. Including yourself too. So this divinity, Isha, manifests as this entire Jagat as Ashtamurti, 5 elements, sun and the moon, and yourself included. Dakshinamurti also has the name Ashtamurti. So in our temple, Dakshinamurti is also called as Ashtamurti. And then what is the 8 elements in the form of Dakshinamurti? The Vigraha, when you see, it has the representation of the 5 elements, and it has the representation of sun and the moon in Dakshinamurti's head. And then the 8th element is missing in Dakshinamurti idol. In fact, it is not missing. The 8th element is standing right in front of the Dakshinamurti. When you pray, you are the 8th. Wow, what a beautiful representation. What a beautiful representation. So that is the representation of Dakshinamurti. The Ashtamurti, what Ramana Maharshi says, is just represented in Dakshinamurti as well. So I'll conclude. Now bringing our focus today, what we discussed is cultivation of this devotion to God, not just in one form, but in all forms, in all names, in all forms, in anything and everything. And so this bhakti, now I'll give you a new definition. The bhakti is the ability to see the divine in everything. Bhakti is the ability to see the divine in everything. Divine in everything. Bhakti is the ability to see the divinity even in a robber. So the divinity is very much present in a burglar's heart also, but unfortunately, for the time being, some desire has covered up that divinity that made that person do whatever that person did. This divinity is very much present even in the most negative person you may find in society, just that some sort of a mad desire has enveloped that person, has pervaded that person, that person is not able to see this divinity in oneself and in this Ashtamurti. That's what has happened. Indeed, divinity is everywhere. So the recognition of that divinity in everything, everywhere, is bhakti, and developing a relationship with that divinity is bhakti. That relationship may start initially with Artha Bhakti, Artharthi Bhakti. It should transform into just our desire to know God, and that's why you all have driven miles to come here and to inquire into that self, inquire into that God which is manifesting as self. That self and God are not two different identities, not two different entities. So we are all very much here for jijnasa, and the journey culminates in each of you becoming a jnani. So when you all become jnanis, we'll hold a valedictory ceremony, and then Arsha Vidya certificate shall be bestowed upon all of you. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. We'll spend a couple of minutes in Adhun